Greetings, miracle workers. This is Paul talking about A Course in Miracles. And I thought I'd do another video about perception to try to clear up some things that the Course says about it that I think a lot of people have misunderstood. And I used to never really get this either, and it's quite confusing at first. Especially when you start out with the Course and you start reading stuff about how perception is working and projection makes perception and the things that you see you've kind of projected and so on, you come to conclusions right near the beginning where they're actually false conclusions and they're not the whole picture, and then you kind of carry them with you and stay kind of deluded and a bit in denial of how things are actually working. So the first thing to realize is that before you came into the dream you had full awareness. When you went to dream, you went to sleep, and you wanted to make yourself unconscious, and you wanted to deny awareness of God and make yourself not aware. And what you did is you made a nice little box. Let's say that the box is black, and you put yourself in the box and you made a body in the box, and the inside walls of the box are painted black, but then you also put some little objects in there with you, some houses and some trees and so on, and you make this body. And even though the whole purpose of this is to make it so that you're not aware, that you don't know God, and that you're hiding from God, and you want to not be conscious of the truth and reality, you make up a body and you give it senses, which suggests that you want to have a way of sensing reality, that you somehow want to see, you want to hear, you want to feel and touch things and smell things, as if to say you actually are trying to sense reality, that you're trying to perceive, you're trying to have awareness, when in fact the whole thing is designed so that you are not aware, so that you're sort of distracted with excuse me, illusions, things inside this box, looking at the inside walls of this box and seeing these objects and having a kind of vision that cannot see past the surface of these objects and cannot see outside of the box. It's totally isolated, totally stuck, totally blinders on, and then trying to look at only the things that are inside the box with the body, so that you are blinded by the box and blinded by the surface of objects, so that you literally cannot really see, and you cannot really see reality, you don't see the truth. It's designed so that you cannot actually be aware of God. These eyes made not to see will never see. So you actually you made the body and gave it these fake senses to try to substitute for awareness and to pretend that you actually are using them to be aware of a real environment that is actually not a real environment, and to sense the world, perceive the world, feel the world as if it's there, to convince you that it's there, in order for you to be so distracted by what's outside of you that you don't look within, so blocked, blinded by perception of form, so that you won't be able to see past forms, in order to keep you in the box, keep you in the dark. So this whole world is this box, and you're inside this box in a body that looks only at the surface of the world, or Jesus calls it the outside surface of nothing, the body cannot see past. The box is made of sin. It's the granite block of sin, which the body's eyes behold. It's the forms of error. The error that you made in believing that you could be separate has taken on the form of objects and houses and bodies inside this box, so that your body's eyes will continually make the error real and believe that it really is real sin. It's happened, you're in it, because you can perceive it. So basically, you gave the body these eyes, sin gave the body eyes, so that you would not see. And this seeing, based on photons of light bouncing off surfaces of objects, is not real vision. It is false perception. And Jesus says that the world is false perception. So basically, everything physical, every matter, every object is a false idea. It's an error. It's the separation idea. It's not true. And it's the forms of error. It's the solidification of the separation idea itself has taken on the form of what looks like a world. And so the body is stuck in a state of having false perception all the time. Regardless of what your mind does, regardless of what you believe, regardless of how spiritual you are, the body's eyes still function the same way all the time. And because they were made not to see, they were made to look at the outside surface of nothing, the illusions of physical objects, and see. And so photons of light were designed to bounce off the surface of objects, to not go through them, but to hit the surface, bounce off, go into your eye, to show you that there's an obstacle there. There's a wall of sin that seems solid, and the more guilt you have, the more solid it seems, and so that you would only see the surface. You could only see, okay, there's where the photons bounced off the objects, and so I can see them. So you can see my blue top and me coughing and so on, and you can only see that because of the photons that are hitting the surface, and the light is being limited by the surface and reflected off into the camera. That's how you're able to see me. But that means that my body has blocked your vision, because you can't see past the surface. You can't see the insides of my body. You can't see my brain. If I even have one, I don't know. And I've never seen it. So you're blinded by sight of form. And this was on purpose. This is a deliberate device for making it so that you don't see. That you're stuck looking at the surface of illusions and thinking that they're real, and believing that that's vision. And it doesn't matter how spiritual you are, it doesn't matter how awake you are, how much forgiveness you've done, it doesn't matter how much course lessons you've done or whatever, the body is always going to have this functioning. It always can only see with photons of light. It can only perceive the surface of physical objects. It literally is not capable of seeing outside the box, past the surface, or anything real. They were made not to see. They will never see. So you've got to first of all let go of the idea that your body's eyes can or will ever see reality. They are not capable. They're just biological machines that convert photons of light into signals, and they send the signals to your mind to show pictures to your mind. And that will always be the case. It's the case of gurus and spiritual leaders and anybody who's insane. It all works the same. The body's eyes are just fixed machines, devices for separation that only function one way. They will never ever function another way. So they're like stuck being in false perception. Holy moly. So that means that if it was only for that, you would be stuck in false perception forever. Because if there's no other way of seeing past illusions, the body is unforgiving in this way because it can't overlook illusions. It can't see past bodies and surfaces, so the body is literally unforgiving. It is judgmental, always. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are, the body is always having this visions of hell, showing you pictures of illusions as if they're really there. And if that was all that you could do, and there was no other option, you would be blinded by this world and never able to wake up. Now, good thing that the Holy Spirit came along, because he, the spiritual eye, Christ's vision, is a second way of perceiving. And this is the part where I think most people are getting confused, because you think that you have a perception, okay? You think, I've got perception, I perceive. The Course talks about shifting your perception and changing your perceptions. So you think, I'm going to take this perceiving, this one way of perceiving, this looking, and I'm going to change it into a better state of looking. And that sounds okay, except the fact is that the body's eyes do not change. They cannot change how they perceive. And so, got a tickle today. So the body's eyes are not ever going to be able to shift perception. They don't ever look in a different way. They're not capable of seeing reality. They cannot have true perception. And so you've got to ask yourself, what is this perception that I can supposedly change and shift and make true? It can't be the body's eyes. It cannot be the body's vision. These eyes that you made them as a sight that you made. The Course says you made it. You made up another way of seeing. So you made a second kind of perception. You made false perception. And the correction for false perception is true perception, but you cannot use the mechanism of false perception, the body, to see with true perception. These eyes made not to see will never see. They cannot operate in spirit. They cannot see Christ or reality. So when you start reading the Course and you're reading these parts about, I'm going to change my perception and gradually transition it to a better perception, you don't kind of think about this, and you think, and what that does is it makes you believe whatever you see, you must have put it there, or projection makes perception, or if I see sickness, it means I believe in sickness, or if I see guilt, it means I believe in guilt. And then you start believing that there's a mirror, and the world is just a mirror for your projections. And so if you see a sickness, someone's got a broken leg, that this means somehow you have a broken leg. Or that if someone is sick, you must be making them sick and you're not seeing them properly. There's something to that, but that's not the whole picture. The thing is that the body is always going to be perceiving in the same way, with the same mechanism, the same kind of vision. It takes images of light, fake light, images of light, and sends those signals into your mind. And your mind looks at those signals and images and determines what they mean. But you can't shift the body's vision. So in order to develop Christ vision and true perception and have another way of looking at anything, you have to develop the spiritual eye, which is a second kind of perception that happens simultaneously to the body's eyesight. This is a vital key point, that the body's eyes continue looking at the form of objects all the time, all the way through you being spiritual, all the way through the workbook, all the way through your forgiveness, all the way that you're developing Christ vision. The body's eyes will still continuously send signals from the world into the mind that the mind does see. So now you have body signals permanently coming into the mind, showing you the surface of objects, people doing things, broken bodies, sick bodies, wars, conflicts, death, even while your mind is attempting to awaken. And so you developing Christ vision happens in parallel to the body's vision. You keep on seeing with the body's eyes, but at the same time, you're developing another way of seeing, and what the Course says is a way of seeing that does not use the body's eyes, a mind-to-mind or spiritual sight that is independent from the body's way of perceiving. And as you're developing this other way of seeing, the body's eyes continue seeing. And so now you get a kind of a double vision. And I think it even mentions this somewhere. There's the kind of a double perception where you're seeing images from the body at the same time as seeing true perceptions of the face of Christ. Or trying to overlook what the body's eyes are seeing. So what happens as you apply forgiveness, to forgive is to overlook. What you're trying to do is you're trying to take the fact that you're stuck seeing body images and you're trying to overlook them. You're trying to not believe what they're showing you. Because initially when you believe them and you believe the world and the illusions, you think this world's real and it's happening and it's real sin and the bodies are really sick and the broken leg is true, and you see other people as actually really being what they appear to be. That's false perception, and what that means is that in your mind you're believing and being convinced by how the body looks at things. But just because you go from that to seeing the truth about what the body's seeing, doesn't mean you stop seeing with the body. Holy Mother of God. So then your mind starts out by, it's kind of like you have body images coming in, and then they come into your belief system where you filter them, and then they go and are shown to the mind, which sees, only the mind sees. The mind back here is looking at the interpretation of the images that the body is sending to the mind constantly. And so when your belief system is all messed up and you believe in ego, you interpret what the body sees as real, and differences, and real sin and real death and real sickness. You see the broken leg, and you don't just see the broken leg, you also believe in that the break that you're seeing is true and real. When you purify your perception, your belief system that's back here, the body keeps sending the same pictures, the exact same pictures of physical things, surfaces that it's blinded by, but your belief system now reinterprets the meaning of those images and recognizes that they are not true, that they are false pictures. They're pictures of illusions that are attempting to tempt you to believe that they're real and true, but actually are not. And eventually the mind learns to disregard, overlook, not believe, and recognize as false all the things that the body is showing to the mind. So you're still seeing the physical world, but it is registering to you as, I recognize this is false, it's an illusion, it's not true, it's not really there, it's not really happening. So at that point, your mind can see through the body at the same time as Christ vision. The Christ vision allows you to do the overlooking of the body images. It is the forgiving mind that takes these solid looking walls and images of bodies and looks through them, ignores the forms of error, sees past the illusion, isn't deceived by what it's being shown, and sees beyond the physical images to reality, to the face of Christ. Getting a little bit dark in here. Okay. Let there be light. So then, where was he? So you develop this Christ vision, this true perception, this accurate perception, which discerns correctly what is true and what is false, both of those. It doesn't just see what's true, it sees the truth about whatever the body is showing it, and it recognizes in that light of truth that what the body's showing it is false. It totally categorizes everything the body sees as unreal, but still sees it because the body's still sending pictures. And so it gets to a trade-off point where you believe the body signaled less, you believe the Christ vision more, the body signals become so overlooked and forgiven that they become transparent. They become like a thin veil over the face of Christ, and you're still seeing them. Even though you're having true perception at the same time, and the body's trying to tempt you to have false perception, but you're not buying it, you can still slightly detect and see bodies and forms, and therefore in this state of being practically a miracle worker, teacher of God, you can go around this world and see, using the body's eyes, look over there, somebody just got hit by a car. Look over there, someone's got a broken leg. You see it, you see the signals from the body, but you don't believe that the signals are real or true, but you can still use them for purposes of healing. And now you can go to that person and offer them a miracle and help others. And this is one of the things that when people think I only have one way of perceiving and I'm going to shift my one way of perceiving and only look over here at the truth, ignores the body's eyes and makes them believe I cannot see sickness, because if I'm seeing sickness, that must be my sickness and I must be sick. They don't realize that a healed mind doesn't have sickness in it, but can still see the bodies because the body's eyes are still being used at the same time as the healed perception. And that's where you can see there's a person with leprosy at the side of the road and you can go over and heal them. There's somebody that just died, you can go raise the dead, because this is how Jesus did it. This just makes total sense. You can go and walk around the world with your body as a teacher of God and continue performing miracles, even though your mind is healed. Because your healed mind, which is perceiving with Christ's vision and overlooking the physical and barely seeing the physical, is able to have that double vision where you still can see the illusion enough to be able to discern, hey, that person needs help, I'm going to go help them. And so when people think that I am totally unable to see what other people are doing, I'm totally blinded to the physical things because of my pure holy perception, that they don't see the holiness is in the holy perception, but you're still having the second perception of the body at the same time, temporarily. And therefore you don't have to believe in sickness in order to see sick bodies. And it doesn't mean that you're sick because you're seeing them. It means they register to you as not true because you're sane. You don't believe in what you're seeing, but you still see it. You can still say, there's a person that seems to have a broken leg. I know that they don't really have a broken leg because they're not even really a body. And nevertheless, I can go over and offer them some healing to their mind so that they'll be free of suffering. This is what teachers of God are supposed to be doing, working miracles in the world to help others. And that whole component of A Course in Miracles is completely denied by the people who think that they only perceive with blinders on, looking at truth, ignoring the error, no longer seeing it. That only applies at the very, very end, when the body signals have been overlooked, the world has been forgiven. This is why a forgiven world cannot last. The world has been overlooked so much. The Christ vision is so strong, seeing through the transparent veil of sin, not believing it, and then at some point your awareness of Christ and recognition of Christ as yourself becomes full and total, and in that moment you only see the face of Christ, and you now completely forget the body. You no longer see body signals, and now you cannot see the world where there are bodies being sick. But that's only at the very, very, very last instant where you're accepting the atonement, that happens, and if, as soon as you see that face of Christ and you see it perfectly, you forget the world and you go to God, and you don't even have more than a second, an instant before God scoops you up. You don't have long enough to even thank him for it, because he now takes you to heaven. So anything before that does include the continued use of the body's eyes, even if you're simultaneously having 99% true perception. And that's why you can then be a teacher of God in the world, and you can help others, heal others, and heal sickness and death and so on. Let's have even more light. Actually, that's a bit too contrasty. So I hope that's clear, because without that clarity that you're having two kinds of perception at once, and that the body's perception continues right up to the end, if you don't realize that and you think that you're just going to sort of turn away from the world, and now you cannot see sickness anywhere, you can't even see bodies, you can't see anything, that's only at the very end. If you think that you're doing that all the way through, you're going to believe that, oh, if I'm seeing you that you've got a sick body, I am attacking you and judging you, and I'm putting sickness on you. No, that's not how it works. That is not how perception works. You've got two kinds of perceiving until Christ's vision is perfect. There's two major quotes in the course, two sections that say this. One of them says something like, teachers of God choose to look upon dreams a while. I don't remember the exact quote, it's quite a big one. It's the whole paragraph, but it's like, they choose to look on dreams a while. They're not deceived by what they see, because you're still looking with the body's eyes upon the dream for a while, having a healed mind, not believing in sickness, not making people sick, looking at the dream and not being deceived, and it also says they still can see bodies in various states and conditions, including healthy bodies, sick bodies, bodies that are suffering, and bodies that are dead, even though the mind is healed. The healed mind can see through the body still, to look at this world, dream still, and see that people are still suffering. But the teacher of God with a healed mind isn't deceived by what they see through the body. They overlook it, they forgive it, they look past it to the Christ, to the truth, to heaven that is beyond the body. See that sort of in the bodies that they're seeing. This is why God is in everything you see when he's in your mind. And are able to then offer help as part of the atonement, being a professor of atonement, being a physician of the Lord, healing other people, curing sickness on all levels, demonstrating miracles, because you're healed, not in spite of it. And there's another quote in the Manual for Teachers that says something very similar, that the body's eyes still continue to report the various forms and differences as before. They still see the same way as they always did. They still report those images to the mind, but the mind puts them all into one category and recognizes that they're all unreal. So you've still got images, you're still seeing the images, but you know they are not real. And this allows you to still see the world, the physical world, with correct perception that doesn't buy into the world, being in the world but not of it, where you can help others because you are able to see that they are in need. You have even more insight and awareness and clarity about what is happening in the world. You know even more. You can see even better than before. You have even better vision and clarity and accuracy to see things for what they are in the world, to be able to help. Not less. You don't become blind to it until the very end of the atonement. That's when you forget the world. And so teachers of God become teachers of God, not just people having God and sitting on a cloud frickin' picking the nose and not helping anyone else because no one else exists, all that bullshit, but actually going around using the body as a communication device for healing, performing miracles, helping others, because the body can still be used by the Holy Spirit. It can still be used to teach in the dream. It can still be used to see what people are doing. What ways are they suffering? What do they need? To be able to discern, how can I help you? And to heal and offer healing and miracles. Because you are still going to use the body with the Holy Spirit right up until you frickin' resurrected and disappeared. But some people seem to have this idea that you're just going to become absolutely unable to see anybody suffering because of your healing. And the thing is that there are miracle principles that violates. Things like miracles are given by those who temporarily have more to those who temporarily have less. You wouldn't be able to have a situation where you have more and you're more healed and you can give your more healing to someone who is less healed and more sick. If your belief in your healing was causing them to be sick, or if your state of healing was not able to see the sickness, it's only possible for you to give those miracles to others because you being in a healed state where you don't believe in sickness doesn't make it impossible for you to be able to tell that someone else is sicker, they're lacking, miracles supply a lack, and therefore you temporarily have more than they do. When you have the belief that there's only this one perception, there's one perceiver, there's one dreamer, there's one Son of God, it's all my own stuff, and you get into that everything I see is all mine, it's not true. This is a shared dream, collective dream. You get blind to that, and now it becomes impossible to work miracles, because if what you see is only your own stuff, if I'm sick, I see sickness. If I'm healthy, I can only see health. If that's true, and it's interpreted that way, that means you literally can never be in a position where you have more than someone else. So whenever you go up, they go up, because it's you. You're the only one. And in that kind of thinking, there's no basis for miracle working, because there's no inequality. There's no situation where you can give something to somebody that doesn't have what you have. Because you're thinking that it's all just me, it's all just a reflection of where I'm at. And it is not, because you don't have one perception. You have two perceptions. You can still see that other people are temporarily having less, while you, in your healed state, are temporarily having more. And that's why you can give and supply a lack to those who lack. That's why you can do miracles, and why you should be. Because of that dynamic. Now, it's true that you do project onto people, and there is a component where what you believe you put on top of things, and you perceive it as if there's a mirror happening. But the mirror doesn't extend all the way to encompass the whole frickin' world that includes other dreamers, brothers, who are in states of lack, who need help, who have free will. It's only to do with your belief system that's back here in your mind, interpreting what you see. And perception is a result, not a cause. It does not cause you to see things. Your projections and your belief system and your values is what causes you to see things that aren't there in the images that the body sends to your mind. And if you think about it, your body's only capable of seeing this way. It can only see images and light that come in here, and you're not really seeing the world. You're seeing these, whatever the body picks up with its senses, and whatever's beyond that is you just got to take its word for it. And so you can't really say that the body's showing you this perfect mirror. The body doesn't. So you got to be careful with this, because it's easy to get into that idea of oneness, and it's all me, and I'm only seeing my own stuff, and I'm the only son of God, and it's all my perception. That can trip you up, because it's not all your perception. Your perceiving is a reaction to what you project, and what you project can be undone. You can dissolve your projecting to turn your perception into a thing that's more or less transparent and is a filter that doesn't filter, so that you can see things for how they really are, the truth about the body images, so that you can recognize them and know that they are false while still seeing them. So yes, if I'm blaming somebody for guilt, it is my guilt. If I'm projecting shit onto them, it's my stuff. But that doesn't mean, hey, you can only see somebody suffering because you must be suffering. Or you can only tell that they're sick if you believe in sickness. No. You're perfectly capable. I mean, this is common sense. You're perfectly capable of still seeing shit in the world. The body's eyes still show it to you all the time, no matter how spiritual you are, until you leave the body. So there's some traps there, and because of those traps, a number of people do not believe in miracle working in the world, because they don't see how and why their perception in a healed state could ever show them things that need to be helped. Because they think that they've gone from false perception and now they're in true perception, and they're only seeing truth. So they don't think they can see anything false. That is not how it works. You become truthful and filled with truth and seeing in the correct light with accuracy that allows you to discern what is true and what is false. The false things are now recognized as false instead of being thought to be true. You can still look at them, but they register as false. That is the difference. False perception is a state where you see illusions and you believe they're real. True perception is a state in which you see illusions, but you don't believe they're real. You're still able to see people suffering and being sick and needing help. You just don't believe that it's real. You don't turn it into reality. You don't buy into it and get upset by it. You just remind them that it's not true and help them to come to the truth so that they can heal. I think I'm going to wrap up because I'm freaking freezing in my body vision. So hopefully that clarifies somewhat, because I think it's been really confused in the course that you just shift your perception and then you become blind to the world. It's not true until you're so perfectly true in your perceiving and so only seeing Christ that the veil of matter, the wall of sin becomes, you see through it, it becomes invisible to you. It's like a cloud that parts and the veil is lifted, and then you only see Christ, and now you're seeing only the truth. Now you're recognizing the truth is true and only seeing the things that are real and true. And until then, you do still see this world with two ways of perceiving happening at the same time, and trying to transition away from the body's vision to spiritual sight. Anyway, there we go. It's getting dark, and God bless. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.